Imagine that you and I were to take a road trip. Imagine if I went to one of you today and say, hey, would you like to take a trip with me? Because I'm such a fantastic guy and drive so well, I'm sure you'd say, love to, right? So imagine if I were to go to you and say, hey, let's take a trip together, right? Well, if we walked out of this building and got in my truck, by the time we got to this driveway over here, there would be a chance for conflict because we haven't gotten detailed enough. All we've said is take a trip. And to you, a trip is west. To me, a trip is east. I turn east. We have conflict because we've kept it too broad. Tracking with me? Okay. So we got to draw the blueprint. We got to get detailed. So imagine, though, if I were to take it a step further and said, you know what? Would you like to take a road trip with me to Texas? Well, now we're getting closer. It's a little more detailed, right? So we know when we hit the end of the driveway, there's a decision to be made. But based on where we're aiming, which way do we turn? We turn to the west, right? However, in about 20 minutes going west, there's going to be another decision because Texas is a big place. That's right? I mean, do we go halfway up the river over the bridge over the River Sabine and put it in park and say we have arrived? Oh, Texas is a big place, right? So we got to get detailed. Where are we going in Texas, right? So imagine if I were to say to you one step further, hey, would you like to take a trip with me to the Bass Pro Shop in Katy, Texas? Now we got it nailed down. You see what I'm doing? This is specific now. I know exactly what I'm aiming at. So we're really well defined. I'm talking about marriages and I'm talking about relationships between parents and children. But I've drawn the blueprint. We've gotten detailed. It's the Bass Pro Shop in Katy, Texas is where I'm aiming. So we jump in the truck and we start heading that way. But along the way, there's going to be turns. There's going to be stop signs with different options. There's going to be red lights. There's going to be exits on and off of the interstate. In other words, there's a lot of decisions to be made between here and the Bass Pro Shop in Katy, Texas. But what is my driving force? My driving force is I've got the end in mind. So the decisions are all filtered through the idea of, is this bringing me to my desired end? Now listen to me, you parents, there's a lot of decisions to be made raising kids. Your kids are gonna come to you, you're gonna see them migrating toward this friend with the idea of, should I allow them to be in friendship with this person? Well, is that person bringing your child toward the end that you've decided on? See what I'm doing here? Mom, can I watch this TV show that everybody's watching? Is that TV show going to get you to where we're aiming? Or is it going to bring you away from it? Let me know you're with me. There's a million decisions to be made as parents. But sometimes because we as parents, we haven't really defined the end, what we're aiming at. Our kids come to us and they ask us a question and we give them an answer, but they feel like it's just arbitrary. They feel like, well, mom said no just because she likes saying no. Mom said no just because, no. What we do, if I sit down with my child and say, this is what I'm aiming for with you. My goal is to raise you as a God-fearing, God-honoring person. This TV show is filth. It will deteriorate your mind. That's not bringing we where we want. So it's a no-brainer now. We don't watch the TV show. I know it, you know it, all God's children know that TV show is not going to help them get to where they're trying to go. Pastor Jody, my 6-year-old wants an iPhone. Is that going to help your 6-year-old get to where we're trying to go? Now, I've got one child who was pretty, what's the word? I almost said conniving. That's not it. But, I got one child who would have said, Dad, an iPhone, I could put the Bible app on my iPhone. They'd have been that one. And I'm like, really? But what about the other 14 million wrong things on your iPhone that you'd have access to? I just want you to know, when I was a kid, we had to work to get in trouble. I mean, we had to go search for it. Your kids, man, they just carry it around in their pocket now. I'm glad I'm not raising kids right now. God bless you, those of you who are. But you see what I'm saying is when I've defined that end, what I'm aiming at, then I know when if we're aiming at the Bass Pro Shop in Katy, Texas, when we get to Beaumont and the highway splits right there where you can go north on 69 or stay west on I-10, it's not, I know the decision because I have in mind what I'm aiming at. I'm not sure I'm landing with you guys today. I'm really reaching for you. Understand what I'm saying? So get in the right relationships, but then also decide where you're wanting to go in your personal life. Decide what kind of person you want to be. What are you aiming at? Then get friends who help you go there. Again, if my goal as an individual is to be a good God-fearing, God-loving people, then I need to come to Victory. I don't need to be at Cowboys. I mean, it's a no-brainer. Because I know what I'm aiming at with my children, with my grandchildren, with any relationship we have. Begin with the end in mind. Draw the blueprint for what you're aiming at so that we won't aim at nothing and hit it every time.